For months now, the United States has been quietly building up military power over Cuba. Warships, surveillance aircraft, fighter jets, and thousands of troops positioned across the Caribbean. At the center of that buildup is the USS Nimitz aircraft carrier strike group, which is loaded with guided missile destroyers, reconnaissance planes, and advanced military assets stationed in Florida, Puerto Rico, and other parts of the region. This kind of deployment is the largest U.S. force buildup outside the West Asian region. Officially, the White House says there are no immediate plans to invade Cuba. But as per reports, U.S. military planners have already gamed out multiple scenarios for possible action if conditions on the island deteriorate further. The buildup, remember, follows months of escalating tensions between Washington and Havana.
We hope that dialogue will prevail at this time, when the aggressive actions taken by the US government against Cuba cast doubt on the seriousness and responsibility with which it is approaching this process. We believe that the international community cannot stand idly by while an entire people is deprived of its means of livelihood, while an entire population continues to be punished for reasons of domination, and while a country is threatened militarily without any justification.
Under President Donald Trump, American forces have increased military operations across the Caribbean. This includes deadly strikes on alleged drug trafficking boats moving between South America and the islands. The U.S. pressure campaign against Cuba entered a new phase after the U.S. Justice Department issued an indictment against former Cuban President Raul Castro over the 1996 shoot-down of two planes. This escalation comes just days after CIA Director John Ratcliffe met with Cuban officials in Havana. Cuba says it was an attempt to improve dialogue with U.S. Cuban officials reportedly told the American side that Havana does not represent a threat to U.S. national security. At the same time, conditions inside Cuba are rapidly worsening. Severe fuel shortages triggered by sanctions and import restrictions have pushed the country deeper into crisis. Hospitals are struggling to function. Schools have been forced to shut down. Government offices are now operating at reduced capacity. According to the Energy Minister, Vicente de la Oleve, Cuba has now completely run out of imported diesel and fuel oil. The country's power grid is in a critical state, with rolling blackouts lasting up to 22 hours in Havana and sparking growing public protests across the island. Meanwhile, the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has recently described Cuba as a national security threat because of its ties with Russia and China. Relations between both these countries after the Cuban Revolution in 1959, remember, followed by the invasion of Bay of Pigs in 1961, a U.S.-backed failed invasion attempt to overthrow Castro regime.